Tonight, we drift into the story of a man who was told he was too small to dream big, and yet he dreamed anyway. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let me tell you about Yuki Kawamura. In a small prefecture on the island of Shikoku, Japan, there lived a boy who loved basketball more than anything else in the world. His name was Yuki Kawamura. Born on May 21, 2001, in Kagawa Prefecture, Yuki grew up in a place where basketball was not the first love of most children. In Japan, baseball ruled the heart of the nation. It was the sport fathers taught their sons, the sport that filled stadiums and dreams. But Yuki was different. From the moment he first saw a basketball game on television, something sparked inside him. The way the ball moved, the way players danced across the court, the rhythm of it all. He was captivated. His parents noticed his fascination. They bought him a small basketball. He was only 5 years old, and the ball felt heavy in his tiny hands. But he didn't care. Every day after school, he would bounce that ball on the pavement outside his home, over and over. Left hand, right hand, behind the back, between the legs. The neighbors would watch him from their windows. Some smiled, others shook their heads. They saw a small boy with big dreams, in a country where basketball was not the path to glory. But Yuki didn't notice them. He was lost in his own world, imagining himself on a court somewhere far away, playing the game he loved. As the years passed, Yuki's love for basketball only grew stronger. He joined his school team in elementary school. He was the smallest player on the court, always. But what he lacked in height, he made up for in speed, in heart, in hours spent practicing when everyone had gone home. His coach saw something special in him, a fire, a relentless energy. But the coach also knew the truth that would follow Yuki for the rest of his life. In basketball, size matters. Yuki, his coach once said, placing a hand on his shoulder, "You have the heart of a lion, but you must work twice as hard as everyone else, maybe 3 times as hard." Yuki nodded. He understood, and so he worked. By the time Yuki reached middle school, he stood at barely 160 centimeters tall. In a sport where most professional guards were 190 centimeters or taller, Yuki was considered impossibly small, but he kept playing. He attended Fukuoka Daiichi High School, a school known for its strong basketball program. It was here that Yuki's skills began to truly shine. He wasn't just small and fast, he was smart. He understood the game in a way most teenagers didn't. He saw plays before they happened. He knew when to pass, when to shoot, when to hold back. His teammates admired him. Opponents underestimated him. And every single game, Yuki played like it was his last. Still, the whispers followed him. In the hallways, in the locker room, even from well-meaning teachers. He's too small. He'll never make it professionally. Basketball isn't for someone like him. Yuki heard them all, and every single word felt like a small weight added to his chest. But instead of letting those weights crush him, he used them as fuel. He practiced longer. He studied game film late into the night. He memorized the movements of professional point guards, not just in Japan, but around the world. He watched Steve Nash, Chris Paul, Allen Iverson, players who weren't the tallest, but who changed the game with their intelligence and will. If they could do it, Yuki thought, maybe I can too. During his high school years, Yuki led his team to multiple victories. He became known for his dazzling assists, his court vision, his ability to make his teammates better. Scouts began to take notice, not because they thought he could go far, but because he was fun to watch. But no one thought he'd make it to the professional level. No one except Yuki himself. After graduating high school, Yuki faced a choice. He could walk away from basketball, pursue a more traditional career, and live a comfortable life, or he could continue chasing a dream that seemed impossible. He chose the dream. Yuki enrolled at Yokohama B. Corsairs development program. and eventually became part of the Japanese basketball system. But his path wasn't straightforward. While other players his age were being recruited to top university programs, Yuki had to prove himself over and over again. He played in smaller leagues. He trained alone. He showed up to open gyms and played pickup games with anyone willing to let him on the court. Some days, he wondered if he was foolish for holding on to this dream. But then he would remember why he started. The 5-year-old boy bouncing a basketball on the pavement, the pure joy of the game, the feeling of the ball leaving his fingertips and swishing through the net, and he would keep going. During this time, Yuki's skills continued to develop. He became faster, smarter, more confident. He learned to use his size as an advantage. Bigger players couldn't keep up with his speed. They couldn't predict his moves. He slipped through defenses like water through cracks. Slowly, people began to notice. In 2019, at just 18 years old, Yuki Kawamura signed his first professional contract with the Yokohama B Corsairs and Japan's B.League. The B.League was the top professional basketball league in Japan, and playing there was a dream come true for Yuki. But even then, he was still the smallest player on the court. At 172 centimeters, just 5 feet 8 inches, Yuki was shorter than many teenage basketball players in America. Yet when he stepped onto that professional court for the first time, something magical happened. He didn't look small. He looked unstoppable. In his debut season, Yuki showed flashes of brilliance. His speed was unmatched. His passing was surgical. He could thread a needle with a bounce pass, finding open teammates in impossible situations. Fans began to chant his name. But success didn't come easy. There were games where he struggled. Games where bigger, stronger defenders shut him down. Games where he sat on the bench, watching, wondering if he was good enough. Those nights were hard. Yuki would return to his small apartment, exhausted and discouraged. He would sit by the window, staring out at the city lights, replaying his mistakes in his mind. But then, morning would come, and with it, a new chance to prove himself. After 2 seasons with Yokohama, Yuki made a bold decision. He signed with the Shinshu Brave Warriors, another B.League team, looking for a fresh start and more playing time. And that's when everything changed. With the Shinshu Brave Warriors, Yuki Kawamura transformed from a promising player into a superstar. The 2022-2023 season was his breakout year. Night after night, Yuki put on performances that left fans speechless. He averaged over 18 points per game. But it wasn't just the scoring, it was how he scored. Crafty layups over taller defenders, deep three-pointers that seemed impossible. No-look passes that made highlight reels. More importantly, Yuki was leading. He wasn't just playing well, he was making his teammates better. He was the engine that made his team run. By the end of that season, Yuki had become one of the most popular players in the entire B.League. Fans wore his jersey. Kids imitated his moves on playgrounds. He had become a symbol of something greater than basketball, a symbol of perseverance, of defying expectations, of proving that heart matters more than height. Yuki was named to the B.League All-Star team. He won awards. He gave interviews where reporters asked him the same question over and over. How do you do it? How do you compete against players so much bigger than you? And Yuki would smile, that quiet, humble smile of his, and say, I just play my game. I don't think about my height. I think about what I can control. But even as he rose to stardom in Japan, there was a dream still burning inside him. A dream he had never spoken out loud because it seemed too impossible, too far away. The NBA. The National Basketball Association, the greatest basketball league in the world. For most Japanese players, the NBA was not even a consideration. Only a handful of Japanese players had ever made it to the NBA, and most of them were tall, athletic big men. The idea of a 5'8" point guard from Japan making it to the NBA seemed like pure fantasy. But Yuki couldn't stop thinking about it. He watched NBA games whenever he could. He studied the players, the systems, the pace of the game. He knew it was faster, more physical, more demanding than anything in Japan. And yet, he wanted to test himself. In the summer of 2024, Yuki made a decision that shocked the Japanese basketball world. He declared that he wanted to pursue opportunities to play in the NBA. People thought he was crazy. Sports analysts said it was unrealistic. Even some of his friends and family worried that he was setting himself up for heartbreak. But Yuki had learned long ago not to listen to the doubters. He trained harder than ever. He hired trainers to help him improve his strength and conditioning. He worked on his shooting, his defense, his ability to finish against bigger players. He watched film for hours, studying NBA defenses, learning their tendencies. And then, he waited for his chance. The opportunity came in the summer of 2024. Yuki Kawamura was invited to play in the NBA Summer League with the Memphis Grizzlies. Summer League is where NBA teams evaluate young prospects, draft picks, and undrafted free agents. It's a chance to prove yourself, to show that you belong. For Yuki, it was the chance of a lifetime. When he arrived in Las Vegas for the Summer League, he felt the weight of the moment. The gyms were bigger. The players were taller, faster, stronger than anyone he had faced in Japan. Some of them were former college stars, lottery picks, players who had been groomed for the NBA their entire lives. And then there was Yuki, 5'8", undrafted, from Japan. The odds were against him, but the odds had always been against him. In his first Summer League game, Yuki was nervous. The pace of the game was overwhelming. Everything happened so fast. He made mistakes. He missed shots. He felt small again, the way he had felt as a child. But he didn't give up. Game after game, Yuki adjusted. He started to find his rhythm. His passing dazzled coaches and scouts. His speed became an asset. He began to score, to create plays, to control the game in ways that surprised everyone watching. By the end of the Summer League, Yuki Kawamura had turned heads. NBA analysts started talking about him. Highlights of his passes went viral on social media. People were calling him the smallest player with the biggest heart. But despite his strong performance, there was no guarantee. Summer League success didn't always translate to an NBA contract. Yuki returned to Japan, uncertain about his future. He had given everything he had. Now, all he could do was wait. Weeks passed. Yuki returned to playing in Japan, trying to stay focused, trying not to think too much about the NBA. But late at night, lying in bed, he couldn't help but wonder, what if the call never came? What if he had gotten as close as he ever would? And then, one day in October 2024, his phone rang. It was his agent. "Yuki," the voice on the other end said, "the Memphis Grizzlies want to sign you to an Exhibit 10 contract. You're going to training camp." Yuki's heart stopped. An Exhibit 10 contract was a non-guaranteed deal, a training camp invitation with no promises. But it was a foot in the door. It was a chance. He packed his bags and flew to Memphis, Tennessee, a city he had never been to, in a country where he barely spoke the language, to compete for a roster spot on an NBA team. Training camp was brutal. Every day was a test. Practices were intense, physical, exhausting. Yuki was going up against NBA-caliber players every single day, guys who had been All-Americans in college, guys who had been drafted in the first round. And once again, Yuki was the smallest player on the court. But once again, he refused to back down. He played with fearlessness. He ran the offense with poise. He made passes that left his coaches speechless. He hit three-pointers. He defended with everything he had, even when he was giving up 6 or 7 inches in height. Slowly, he started to earn respect. His teammates began to trust him. Coaches started giving him more minutes and scrimmages. But still, there were no guarantees. As training camp went on, roster cuts loomed. NBA teams can only keep 15 players on their standard roster, and the competition was fierce. Yuki knew the reality. He was an undrafted, undersized international player with no NBA experience. The odds of making the final roster were slim, but he had come too far to give up now. Every practice, he left everything on the court. Every drill, every scrimmage, every moment was a chance to prove he belonged. The coaches noticed. The front office noticed. The Grizzlies' star player, Ja Morant, even took Yuki under his wing, encouraging him, telling him to stay confident. And then, just before the start of the 2024-2025 NBA season, the Grizzlies made their decision. They waived Yuki from the main roster, but immediately signed him to a two-way contract. A two-way contract meant Yuki would split time between the NBA team and their G.League affiliate. It wasn't a guaranteed roster spot, but it was more than most people ever thought he'd get. Yuki Kawamura was officially part of the Memphis Grizzlies organization. He had made it. Not all the way, not yet, but closer than anyone ever believed possible. On October 30th, 2024, Yuki Kawamura made his NBA debut. It was a road game against the Orlando Magic. The arena was packed with over 18,000 fans. The lights were brighter than anything Yuki had ever experienced. The players were bigger, faster, louder, and when the coach called his name, Yuki stood up and jogged to the scorer's table. His heart was pounding, his hands were shaking, but as he stepped onto that NBA court for the first time, something settled inside him. This was it. The dream he had chased since he was 5 years old. The dream people said was impossible. And here he was, living it. Yuki didn't play many minutes that night, but he didn't need to. Just being on that court, wearing an NBA jersey, hearing the crowd, feeling the energy, it was everything. After the game, reporters asked him how it felt. Yuki smiled, his eyes shining with emotion. "It feels like a dream," he said softly, "but I know it's real, and I'm going to work hard every day to stay here." Over the next few months, Yuki split his time between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Memphis Hustle, their G-League team. In the G-League, Yuki dominated. He put up big numbers, led his team in assists, and reminded everyone why he had gotten this opportunity in the first place. With the Grizzlies, his minutes were limited, but every time he stepped on the court, he played with purpose. He ran the offense. He made smart passes. He didn't try to do too much. He just played his game. Slowly, he began to earn more trust. Coaches gave him more opportunities. Teammates relied on him to run plays when the starters needed rest. And fans fell in love with him. In Memphis, a city that loved underdogs and hard workers, Yuki Kawamura became a fan favorite. Every time he checked into a game, the crowd cheered. Kids wore his jersey. Social media exploded with highlights of his passes and his hustle plays. But more than that, Yuki became an inspiration. In Japan, his story was headline news. Kids across the country started playing basketball because of him. Parents told their children, "If Yuki can do it, you can do anything." He wasn't just playing for himself anymore. He was playing for everyone who had ever been told they were too small, too weak, not good enough. One night, after a tough game, where Yuki had struggled, he sat alone in the locker room. His teammates had already left. The arena was quiet now. Just the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of cleaning crews. He thought about his journey, about the boy from Kagawa who bounced a basketball on the pavement, about the high school player who heard whispers that he'd never make it, about the professional in Japan who dreamed of something bigger, and he realized something important. It was never about proving the doubters wrong. It was about proving himself right. All those years, Yuki had believed in something that no one else could see. He had believed that hard work could overcome physical limitations, that heart could beat height, that dreams, no matter how impossible they seemed, were worth chasing. And now, sitting in that quiet locker room, wearing an NBA uniform, Yuki knew that belief had been right all along. The journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges, more obstacles, more moments of doubt. But Yuki had learned that the journey itself was the reward. Every dribble, every pass, every game, they all mattered because they were steps on a path that only he could walk. There's a statistic they don't keep in basketball. It's not in the box score. You won't find it on ESPN. It's the measurement of will. Yuki Kawamura stands 5 feet 8 inches tall, but his will? Immeasurable. Every time he steps on the court, he's not just playing basketball. He's rewriting what's possible. He's showing that the game isn't just about who's the tallest, the fastest, the strongest. Sometimes it's about who wants it the most. In the months following his NBA debut, Yuki continued to develop. He studied film obsessively. He worked on his body, getting stronger without losing his speed. He learned the tendencies of every NBA defense. He became a student of the game in ways that most players never do. And slowly, he carved out a role for himself. He became known as one of the best passers in the G.League. His court vision was elite. His ability to make his teammates better was undeniable. And when he got his chances in NBA games, he showed he could compete at the highest level. There were still doubters. There were still people who said he'd never be a full-time NBA player, that his size would always be a limitation. But Yuki had stopped listening to them a long time ago. During the NBA offseason, Yuki returned to Japan. He was a hero now. Everywhere he went, people recognized him. Kids asked for autographs. News stations wanted interviews. But Yuki remained humble. He went back to Kagawa, to the neighborhood where he grew up. He visited his old elementary school and spoke to the students there. "I'm not special," he told them, standing in the same gymnasium where he had first learned to dribble a basketball. "I'm just someone who never gave up on his dream. And if I can do it, anyone can." The children listened, wide-eyed and inspired. One small boy, no taller than Yuki had been at that age, raised his hand. "But what if people say you're too small?" he asked. Yuki smiled. He knelt down so he was at the boy's eye level. "Then you show them that size isn't what matters," Yuki said gently. "What matters is how big your heart is, how much you're willing to work, how much you believe in yourself, even when no one else does." The boy nodded, a spark of determination in his eyes. And in that moment, Yuki realized that his journey had given him something more valuable than an NBA contract. It had given him the ability to inspire others, to show them that their dreams, no matter how impossible they seemed, were worth fighting for. Basketball is a young man's game. Careers are short. Opportunities are fleeting. Yuki knows this. He knows that every season, every game, every minute on the court is precious. But he also knows that his journey is about more than just basketball. It's about the kid in Japan who watches his highlights and thinks, "Maybe I can do that too." It's about the parent who tells their child, "Don't let anyone tell you what you can't do." It's about the person sitting in their room, afraid to chase their dream because it seems too big, too impossible, too far away. Yuki's story tells them, chase it anyway, because the truth is, most dreams seem impossible until someone makes them real. Most barriers seem unbreakable until someone breaks them. Most limits seem absolute until someone proves they're not. Yuki Kawamura was told his entire life that he was too small to make it. And yet, here he is, playing in the NBA, living his dream. Not because he was the most talented, Not because he was the biggest or the strongest or the fastest, but because he refused to give up. If you watch Yuki play, you'll notice something. He doesn't play like he's trying to prove something. He doesn't play angry or desperate or frantic. He plays with joy. Every pass he makes, every shot he takes, every second he's on the court, you can see it in his face. He's happy, grateful, present. Because Yuki learned something important on his journey. The destination matters, but it's not everything. The joy is in the journey itself, the early morning practices, the late-night film sessions, the bus rides with teammates, the quiet moments before a game when you're nervous and excited all at once. Those moments are what make the dream real, and Yuki cherishes every single one of them. He knows that his time in the NBA might be short. He knows that tomorrow is never guaranteed, but that doesn't scare him, because he's already won. He's already achieved something that 99.9% of basketball players never will. He's already inspired millions of people around the world. He's already proven that the impossible is possible. Everything else is a bonus. There's a word in Japanese, ganbaru. It means to persist, to do your best, to never give up. Yuki Kawamura embodies this word. He doesn't talk much. He doesn't boast or brag or call attention to himself. He just shows up, day after day, and does the work. When reporters ask him about his success, he deflects credit to his teammates, his coaches, his family. When fans praise him, he smiles humbly and thanks them. But inside, Yuki carries a quiet strength, a strength forged through years of doubt, rejection, and perseverance. It's the strength of someone who has been knocked down 1,000 times and gotten up 1,001. It's the strength of someone who knows their worth isn't determined by their height, or their stats, or their salary. It's the strength of someone who loves what they do so much that they do it even if no one was watching. And that strength is what makes Yuki truly special. Every time Yuki steps on the court, he creates a ripple effect. A kid in Tokyo watches his highlights and decides to try out for the basketball team. A teenager in the Philippines, who was told he was too short, keeps practicing because Yuki showed him it's possible. A parent in America sees Yuki's story and tells their child, "Don't let anyone limit your dreams." These ripples spread outward, touching lives in ways Yuki will never fully know, because that's what happens when you chase an impossible dream and make it real. You don't just change your own life. You change the lives of everyone watching. You show them that the rules they thought were absolute are actually negotiable. You show them that the only real limits are the ones we place on ourselves. You show them that belief, hard work, and heart can move mountains. And that ripple effect, that invisible impact on hearts and minds around the world, is Yuki's greatest achievement. Not the NBA contract, not the highlights, not the fame, the lives he's changed simply by refusing to give up. Right now, as you listen to this story, Yuki Kawamura is somewhere working on his game. Maybe he's in a gym shooting free throws long after everyone else has gone home. Maybe he's watching film, studying an opponent's defense, looking for any advantage he can find. Maybe he's resting, recovering, taking care of his body so he can compete tomorrow. Wherever he is, whatever he's doing, one thing is certain: he's not done yet, because Yuki's story isn't over. It's still being written. Every day is a new page. Every game is a new chapter. And while we don't know how this story ends, we know one thing for sure: Yuki will leave everything he has on the court. He'll fight for every minute. He'll cherish every opportunity, because that's who he is: a dreamer, a fighter, a believer, someone who proves that the size of your heart matters more than the size of your body. As we come to the end of this story tonight, I want you to think about your own dreams. What's something you want to achieve that seems impossible? What's something people have told you that you can't do? What's the dream that keeps you awake at night? The one that scares you because it's so big? Whatever it is, I want you to remember Yuki's story. Remember the 5-year-old boy bouncing a basketball on the pavement in Kagawa, Japan. Remember the high school player who was told he'd never make it professionally. Remember the young man who heard too small so many times it should have broken him, but instead it made him stronger. Remember the moment he stepped onto an NBA court for the first time, living a dream that everyone said was impossible. And remember this, if Yuki can do it, maybe you can too. Not because it will be easy, it won't be. Not because people will believe in you, many won't. But because the only person who needs to believe in your dream is you. So as you drift off to sleep tonight, hold on to your dreams. Don't let anyone tell you they're too big or too impossible or too far away. Chase them with everything you have. Work when no one is watching. Believe when everyone else doubts. Persist when every instinct tells you to quit, because that's what Yuki did. And if a 5'8" point guard from Japan can make it to the NBA, then anything is possible. Anything. The lights in the arena dim now. The crowd has gone home. The court is empty and quiet. But somewhere, a basketball is bouncing. Someone is practicing their shot. Someone is watching highlights of their heroes and dreaming of being just like them. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. So sleep well tonight, knowing that dreams are worth chasing, that hard work is never wasted, that belief can move mountains, and that sometimes the smallest players have the biggest hearts. Good night.